Hey everybody, Seth Braun here, nailing your niche, mastering your target market. What's the secret to nailing your niche? Now before you think anything about niche or target market, know that I hated marketing. In fact, to be honest with you, I don't really like marketing now, but I like working for my clients. I like getting to help people, and I like making money. So marketing is part of running a business. So how can you find an authentic way to market? How can you find a way that marketing extends your mission? Well, we teach a process that takes you through step by step how you can make your authentic marketing work, educational marketing, and that whole thing is built on a process we call mastering your target market. And that's all built on something called niche mapping. Now, when I first learned about marketing, I heard about mastering your target market, I heard about nailing your niche, and I thought, yeah, it doesn't apply to me. I'm charismatic, I can help anybody, and you know what? It worked. I built a very successful business in Boulder, Colorado, very competitive market, and I doubled my income 3 years in a row, and I burned out because I didn't have good systems in place to run my business with peace of mind and a life outside of work. I was a workaholic, running basically 3 businesses simultaneously, and it was complete hypocrisy because I was teaching people to be healthy and balanced in their life, and I wasn't doing it. And then I came back to learn, hey, this is key, and the reason that this is key is because it helps you have a consolidated, congruent business that gets results in a reasonable and sane amount of time and energy. Now, the problem that we came up against was that this was a partial idea, niche. A lot of systems, a lot of people teaching target market and niche teach you a partial system. And to be honest with you, we were teaching a partial system for quite a while. But in working with people one-on-one or in our training programs, we'd help people parse it out, and they'd ask questions. I want to focus on this one problem. Can I build my niche around that? I want to focus on this group of people. I want to focus on something that's been inspiring to me. I want to focus on a niche that makes money. And I realized by sifting through all of this like a prospector sifting for precious metals, that there was actually a 4-quadrant diagram that could be built around this concept of niche mapping. So we created a proprietary system to help you define your niche in a very holistic, integral way. Because niche is not just a matter of knowing what problems you're going to solve, or knowing what demographic you're going to approach, or knowing what's a prosperous region of the US to practice in, or a prosperous demographic, or where people are spending money to solve problems. And certainly, nailing your niche is more than just knowing your passion and your purpose. You know, a lot of people in our industries begin here, and some end here, unfortunately, when talking about target market. They say, if you just follow your passion. Well, that's important, that's part of it. Knowing your purpose, having a sense of personal connection with your story, so that if something in your life impacted you, you can help people with it, and particular values that you have. These are all internal, inner drives. Lots of times you'll hear people talk about an experience in their life that was very inspiring, or someone that helped them, or they have a sense of mission. All these are inner, and they're great. And this is where you probably are. You're probably someplace over on this side of the spectrum. On the opposite side of the spectrum is a classic entrepreneur. A classic entrepreneur isn't really motivated by a sense of mission or purpose or values or life story. Classically, an entrepreneur says, hey, I want to start a franchise. I'm going to meet with the economic director of this regional area, whether it's a city or a municipality or a county. I'm going to find out what the development plan is, what the population growth curve is, how many restaurants exist if they're going to do a restaurant, find a place with foot traffic where there's not competition, put in a fast food restaurant because they know it's going to get X number of traffic and number of people walking by, and they can just do the numbers and say, this will be profitable based on my numbers. This is a completely externally driven business model. That's an entrepreneur. So we have our holistic professionals, creative professionals that we work with over here that are driven by inner motivation, a personal story in their life, their values, their passion, their mission, something that inspired them. And we want you to move over this direction closer to an entrepreneur, not completely, but in that direction. Now the other piece that we found is sometimes people teach niche. That niche is synonymous with demographic. When you nail your niche, you're basically finding a demographic of people. Now, in the holistic health world, for naturopaths, acupuncturists, health coaches, massage therapists, personal trainers, etc., baby boomer women is the biggest demographic accessing these services. So oftentimes we see this in people's niche. I want to work with women ages 50 to 65 on maintaining energy, beauty, health, vitality, these types of things. Well, that's great, and that's important. That is part of it. You want to consider demographic, but it's not the only part. And we've noticed that juxtaposed to that, people are oftentimes saying niche is the problem that you solve. So oftentimes people are talking about type 2 diabetes. It's such a big problem. I want to work with people with type 2 diabetes, or heart disease, or chronic inflammation, underlying arthritis, or dementia, or Alzheimer's. So problem's great, but it becomes powerful when you can identify a series of problems, or one problem, that also relates to a demographic, that also relates to your own values, your passion, your mission, which also has very clear economic conditions associated with it. And what that means is basically that people are emotionally driven to solve. So making sure that your demographic has an emotional reason to solve their problems, because people buy based on emotion. The other piece is that you're looking for a demographic that's actively seeking a solution. If you have a demographic that meets this criteria of economic reality, actively seeking a solution, all of a sudden your practice becomes much easier. But there are a couple things to consider. You got to be clear about, is the nation, is my state, is my region, is the economic trend moving in the right direction? Is the neighborhood, is the demographic, what are the topics that people are looking for? If you look on Amazon to see what are people reading, how can I just offer the same thing but describe it in a way that the marketplace will respond to? This is called meeting the marketplace, and it's a very spiritual concept, because what we're talking about is the spiritual awareness to know that there's myself and then there are others, and I have to meet them where they're at. I have to listen, I have to respond. If I'm in my relationship, I have to listen a lot of the time before I can just talk. This is a kind of a listening to what the marketplace is telling you, what your ideal client and your demographic with the problems you can solve, what they want, what's the language they're using, so you can speak to them in a way that they understand. So to recap, niche mapping is a proprietary system that we've developed after frustration with marketing. For someone like myself, basically I hated marketing. It didn't make sense to me, I didn't embrace it, and because of that, I burned out. Then after teaching business and success principles, I really saw the value of an integrative approach, and that so many people were teaching partial approaches to nailing your niche. Niche mapping solves this by saying there are two spectrums, inner to outer and problem to demographic. And what we want to do is get you somewhere in the middle, in this sweet spot, so that your niche contains elements of each of these, so you have a prosperous niche that's meaningful to you, with problems that you're qualified to solve, with a demographic that you can establish rapport with. This has been Seth Braun. This is Indestructible Success. Thanks for watching.